How's it going, everybody? Welcome. You guys have been asking for the RYU-GE combo video, so here it is. This is going to be my 60 card deck list that I took to a box tournament and won with. This is going to be a pure RYU-GE deck list, so if you're looking for like Sword Soul RYU-GE or something like that, this is probably not going to be the video for you. This is going to go over the basic combos for RYU-GE as well as certain lines you can take under certain effects, like say Droll, Ash, various other things like that, as well as sighting patterns for things like Lava Golem, or the package that I personally love, which is going to be the Dinglong package. Going to show you lines with cards like Subspace Battle, opening just Warzone, Melody, Banju, and various things like that. So, we're going to go ahead and get right into it, and I'm just going to start this off by saying, or by showing you your 1 cards, which are going to be any of these. Make sure I've got all of them. Yep, okay. These are going to be your 1 cards. Sorted by most important, you have the Subspace Battle and the Melody of the Awakening Dragon. Sorted by second most important is going to be things like your Mistfa, your Rising, your Manju. Then the least important is going to be your opening the Warzone on its own. As far as this is going to be like highest impact to lowest impact. As far as cards that play into Droll, obviously these are going to be your worst, and then these are going to be your best for playing into Droll. But all of them do essentially the same thing. The only difference is, with Melody and Subspace, it gives you access to your Mistfa as well as your Anva, which is super important because your win rate is going to go much higher if you have both of these, compared to if you just have the Mistfa. Because the Anva negates on resolution, similar to a card like Ryziel Cross. So if you go skill Anva, skill Mistfa, you go activate Mistfa, your opponent tries to Ash it, you go on resolution of Chain, I'm going to negate that effect with Anva, and destroy itself, and then your Mistfa resolves, Mistfa will search, and then on a separate chain your Anva will place from deck. A continuous. That's why these 2 cards are super important, and they are going to get you your best ways to play through things. Now, just remember, if you do Subspace Battle and you grab these, you will not be able to activate the Anva effect in the extra deck because it is a monster effect, and Subspace prevents you from activating the effects of the monsters you searched. However, because these are Pendulum monsters, you can still use the spell effects while they're in the Pendulum zones. So, if your opponent tries to interact with you, you can still use the Anva effect on resolution. You can still activate the Mistfa and then activate Mistfa effect and scale to search. You just will not be able to use the monster effects in the extra deck or the monster effects face up on the field during the turn you search them. So just remember that, okay? But right now, we're going to start off with the most basic combo of them all. Any RYU-GE card that gets to Mistfa, or by extension, Warzone. So you're going to scale your Mistfa, activate Mistfa, destroys itself to grab your Warzone, activate Warzone. Now this is where your combo can kind of divert a little bit, okay? So, of your targets in this version of the list, these are your primary targets. After sighting, the Oviraptor is also going to be a target, but that will be for the Dinglong combo, which I will show in a little bit. So here, you have a couple of avenues you can take. If you're going second, Aiva to hand might be a more important play, primarily because getting the dino domains to your hand and placing it will allow you to, after you've summoned 𝐒𝐤𝐢 with the Warzone, you can go 𝐒𝐤𝐢 to bottom deck and then destroy 2 cards, or excuse me, destroy cards up to the different amount of type or attributes or whatever. So typically you have 3. So you can go 𝐒𝐤𝐢, bottom deck, destroy up to 3 cards. And that is very good going second. Of course, there's nuance to every duel, so it is going to heavily rely on what interactions your opponent has and what you know you need to play through. But if we're going to be talking about the bread and butter first turn combo, it is going to involve these 3. Typically, you're going to add the 𝐒𝐤𝐢 to hand, you're going to dump the Carbonet in the Grave and banish the 𝐒𝐮𝐩𝐽. Here you will go 𝐒𝐤𝐢 effect to banish itself and add the Worm Winds from deck to hand. Wherever my lens is. At the Worm Winds, you're going to go the Carbonet effect to banish and summon the Justicia from deck. And then on a separate chain, because you have 2 banished monsters, you can go 𝐒𝐤𝐢 to summon itself. Little reminder, 𝐒𝐤𝐢 works even if your opponent has 1 banished monster and you have 1 banished monster. It says banished monsters. So if you were to go like, if you have a banished 𝐒𝐤𝐢 and then you add the 𝐒𝐮𝐩𝐽 and then dump the Carbonet, and you can go Carbonet, banish, summon, 𝐒𝐤𝐢 second separate chain, summon itself because your opponent has a banished monster, that works. So just keep that in mind. Now the reason we're doing the combo like this is because this is going to give you a synchro level 12, which is going to be important, but also it's putting the 𝐒𝐤𝐢 in grave and you're getting the most bang for your buck. You're also, which is probably the most important part of this, is you're going to go activate Worm Winds, and then go 𝐒𝐤𝐢 effect to bottom deck the Worm Winds and search for a RYU-GE card. So you can add the RYU-GE Rivalry, which is going to give you an interruption on your opponent's turn. Think these 2 away for your Snake Eyes Vengeance Dragon. You could also go into something like the 𝐒𝐨𝐜𝐢𝐚𝐥 or your Synchro Universe, which then goes into the Arc Ray to grab another Mistva, or perhaps you could grab the 𝐒𝐻NVA, but those are not that important unless you are genuinely just fishing for a way to play going into turn 3. And personally, I don't like the 𝐒𝐨𝐜𝐢𝐚𝐥. The only reason that you run it is either to do lethal, which the deck already does super well, or provide a way to pop something using the Mistva, because the 𝐒𝐨𝐜𝐢𝐚𝐥 will summon itself back by shuffling the Justicia into deck. I just don't think that it is very good, so it is a flex spot, and you can genuinely change it to anything else you want, like a second Varudras, or another level 12, it really doesn't matter. So here, after all of this, you're going to go Warzone to summon back the 𝐒𝐤𝐢, summon the 𝐒�𝐻NVA, as well as 𝐒𝐤𝐢. I like to summon the 𝐒𝐤𝐢 here. You can summon the 𝐒𝐻NVA, which is something that is extremely important, because before 𝐻ENVA, if you opened the 𝐒𝐤𝐢 and you had Dino Domains, you only played the 1 𝐒𝐤𝐢, you just could not summon. But now that we have the 𝐻ENVA, we have the option of just keeping a 𝐒𝐤𝐢 in hand and then summoning the 𝐻ENVA from deck. In some cases, you might want to do that, because 𝐻ENVA on summon can destroy a card, which can trigger your Mistva. And there is a way to loop your Mistva, so let's say you go summon 𝐻ENVA, pop 𝐻ENVA, then you go Mistva effect, tribute the 𝐒𝐤𝐢, summon, and then you go effect, pop 1/2, place 2 from deck. On your opponent's turn, you can go like effect to destroy something with like, so you go Rivalry, summon 𝐻ENVA, pop something. If your Mistva's in extra deck again, you can just go Mistva effect again, and I'll show that off here in a second actually, because there is a combo that is pretty funny you can do. But we're gonna revert the game state here. So you're going to use the Warzone, summon these 3. You're going to go these 2 into Varudras. You're going to set your Rivalry and then pass turn. The reason I keep the 𝐒𝐤𝐢 is because the 𝐒𝐤𝐢 is a 1-of, and it's a very easy target to shuffle back into the deck with your RYU-GE end. And how we get to RYU-GE end here is, on your opponent's turn, you can go Rivalry to summon your 𝐻ENVA, 𝐻ENVA effect to destroy a monster, or you can use the Varudras to negate and then destroy a monster on the field. your Misfo will trigger, tributing the 𝐒𝐤𝐽, summoning itself to extra deck, and then Resolution, destroy your 𝐒𝐴NVA and your Warzone. To place... Oh, excuse me, 𝐒𝐴NVA goes to extra deck. To place 2 of your continuous spells. Typically, I go for Dino Domains and Spiral because they are the most immediately useful. Wyrmwinds might be good against decks like Cooltoon, where you're trying to keep them off of the synchro effects in Grave, but this deck already has a good matchup against Cooltoon because a lot of the time you are able to negate and or remove their normal summons before they can even get to a synchro monster. So typically I do this, and then Separate Chain you can go 𝐒𝐴NVA effect to place your RYU-GE 𝐿 from deck. And this is going to be a monster pop, a hard bounce to hand, and a face-up monster activation negate. As well as, of course, your Omni negate, a monster back row. So you can go for Rudress, negate something, and then that turns on the RYU-GE 𝐿, allowing you to shuffle back 𝐒𝐤𝐽 and 𝐒𝐤𝐽. Now, if you have Rising Engrave, you might want to keep the 𝐒𝐤𝐽 Engrave and instead shuffle back the 𝐿. Because if you banish the 𝐒𝐤𝐽 with the Rising and then summon another 𝐒𝐤𝐽, if your opponent has another monster banished, or if you have another monster banished, you can go 𝐒𝐤𝐽 effect and banish the summon itself. And that gives you 2 RYU-GE monsters to immediately go battle with and possibly do lethal or make another Varudress. Or say you have the Wyrmwinds on your field, you could use the 𝐒𝐤𝐽 to put this back and then grab Warzone and go full combo again. You could also just instead keep the 𝐿 if you either have a way to get 2 dumps off on your turn so that you can summon the 𝐿 back from Grave, or do things like that. Typically, if I don't have Rising Engrave, I will keep the 𝐿 Engrave just in case my opponent hand traps me on the next turn, or does some interaction utilizing the graveyard. Also, Bestial's turn on the 𝐒𝐤𝐽, so if you go Rising and then banish 𝐒𝐤𝐽, and then your opponent's like, oh, I'm going to use a Magnamud or something, you can just go, okay, cool, I'm going to use my 𝐒𝐤𝐽 to revive itself. That happened to me at the box tournament, which was pretty funny. I also had a moment where my opponent tried to Ash me when I had 𝐒𝐴NVA Warzone, and I was like, okay, you Ashed me, I've had 2 monsters sent, or I've had another monster sent from hand to grave anyway, so I'm going to go 𝐿 to summon. And then I used the I kept the 𝐿 on field, and I had a Spiral to back it up, turn it into an interaction. It was pretty funny. But that's the bread and butter combo. Now, if you want another way to kind of like play around stuff, I suppose, I'm just going to use the Rising as an example. You can go draw phase Rising, grab Misfo, do the normal combo, Misfo, destroy, add Warzone, grab 𝐒𝐤𝐽, 𝐿, 𝐒𝐤𝐽. This is just going to be another way you can do the combo. Add the 𝐒𝐤𝐽 to hand, banish 𝐒𝐤𝐽, dump 𝐿, go 𝐒𝐤𝐽, put back, add your Dino Domain, wherever I put it. There's Spiral, there's Dino Domain. Activate, then go Warzone, summon, and summon your 𝐒𝐴NVA here. Here you could go 𝐒𝐴NVA effect to pop itself, and then you can go Misfo to tribute the 𝐿, summon. 𝐒𝐴NVA effect will place, and you can go Misfo destroy. Or excuse me, you should be doing the Misfo to destroy anyway. Oh, and these would be in chain to each other, by the way, just so you know. So then you go place off of the Misfo. Your Wyrmwinds as well as your Sea Spiral or Sea Spiders, and then the 𝐿 will place the RYU-GE end. Now the cool thing about this is the continuous spells work if you have an Anva on field. So if you have the continuous spells on field, and you have like a rivalry, you can summon Anva on your opponent's turn, and then it becomes an interaction with all of these. And so what ends up happening is when you do that, and you've placed your continuous spells back, you can do something like RYU-GE end to destroy a monster, and then go Mistva, tribute the Anva. Use Mistva to pop and then place these back, and then you can use them again. Which is kind of what I was talking about earlier. Now, if you want to see how that's done, then we can do... We can do... Rising and Mistva, I suppose, or even better, to be honest, let's just do like subspace battle. Then go subspace battle, grab Mistva, grab Anva, grab Mistva, or you could just grab 3 Mistvas and then use the Rising to grab Anva. Genuinely does not matter. Well, actually it kind of matters because the subspace battle turns off monster effects. So yeah, use the Rising to grab Anva, and then here you can go scale Mistva. Scale Anva, Mistva effect, pop, search. Warzone. Actually, if I'm going to show up this part of the combo, the subspace does kind of matter, so we're just going to do the melody. Yeah, let's just say you have these two and then like a discard, I guess. You're going to go Rising in draw phase, grab like Anva, or you could grab Imba. Go Melody, discard, grab these two. Scale. Might as well just go ahead and dump an Inva to grab Spires. Then you go Mistva, pop. Add Warzone, activate Warzone, grab your normal stuff. 1, 2. Where is the other Inva? 3. Add the Hakva, dump, banish Hakva to add. Banish Carbonetin to summon. Activate Hakva to summon. Use these two, or excuse me, activate Wormwinds, do Hakva effect to put back and grab Rivalry. These two into your... And here, this is where you could go into the Glaciasaurus, but you don't really need to. Ever. So I'm just gonna make the Vengeance. You can go Inva here because 2 monsters were dumped. And then here you could go special. You can just use the Warzone special 1, 2, and 3. Use the Anva to destroy your Inva. Effective Mistva, summon itself. Pop a 1, 2. Anva goes to grave. Your Anva goes to extra deck. Place 1 and place 2. And then the Anva will place your RYU-GE end. And then you go activate Spires, set the rivalry, overlay these two, or you could overlay all three. It kind of doesn't really matter, to be honest. I do like to keep the 𝐒𝐴NVA on field when I can, just because if they do something to the Mistfa in the extra monster zone, like say negate it with a droplet or something, the 𝐒𝐴NVA can still use these on back row. Now, I'm going to show you something really funny about this, by the way. Okay, so let's say pass turn, right? Say your opponent does something, and you're like, okay, or let's say your opponent has done a couple things, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna use 𝐒-Spires and Dino Domains. This is really funny. You can go Varudris, negate something, destroy your own Mistfa, and then you can go RYU-GE End, or Rivalry to summon 𝐒𝐴NVA. For just to make it look better, I guess I'll do the Rivalry. Summon the 𝐒𝐴NVA, destroy a monster. And then here you go Mistfa effect, beat the 𝐒𝐴NVA, and then destroy. So you could do 1-2. You can pop the Varudris, pop the 𝐒𝐴NVA, and then you can just place Spires and where'd it go? Dino Domains again. And then you have more interaction again. It's such a funny combo. I did this maybe once against the 𝐒𝐸𝐚 player I played against in finals, and he was crashing out so hard. He was like, bro, why are they back? It was so funny. And I was testing with my team. I was playing against Elf Note and like PK and a bunch of other decks in testing. And every single time that combo resolved, it was just like, yeah, it's GG's. Like, there's no way. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and show the Danglong combo real quick, which includes these 4 cards as well as these cards in an extra deck. Tzolk'in, Crystal Wing, Danglong, and I believe that's it. Yep. So it includes these 3 cards in extra deck, as well as these 4 cards in main deck. Oh, and also I guess the Carbonetin should be included in this. But it ends on, if I recall correctly, the difference between the normal combo and this is this package ends on 2 Omni Negates and a Monster Negate, in comparison to your singular Omni Negate and, of course, the Snake Eyes Vengeance Dragon. I'll just show the combo real quick. It can literally, it's any 1-card starter in the deck, as usual. So you go skill Mistfa, grab Warzone, destroy, Warzone, grab 1, or excuse me. Yeah, Mistfa, or Warzone, grab 1, 2, and where is 𝐒𝐴NVA? There. Searching the Oviraptor is super important. There is a slight difference though. So if you open the Manju, you don't have to search for the Oviraptor, because the Oviraptor is just giving you access to Carbonetin so that you can banish it to summon the Flamvell Guard. But if you open the Manju, you can just search for the, you can just grab the Carbonetin off of the Warzone and then discard the Carbonetin, and it could do the same exact thing. So you search for these 3 if you don't have access to Manju, and you go banish 𝐒𝐴NVA, discard Hakba, add the OB to hand, you go normal OB, dump the Carbonetin, and then you can go banish Carbonetin, summon the Flamvell Guard, 1-2 into your Danglong. You can do the Warzone effect to summon everything first, and then insulate the Danglong with the Varudris, But you're kind of trading interaction for interaction either way, and I think that you would rather trade the Dinglong combo for a hand trap than like go Warzone and then they bell it, because this is going to end on a Crystal Wing anyway. So in a lot of cases, sometimes I'll just go into the Dinglong combo and I'll be like, effect to add, and they're like, oh my god, he's adding 9 pillars, I'm going to ash that. I go, okay, I'll just do the rest of the combo as is normally anyway. So here on Dinglong Summon, you're going to add the 9 pillars, and then you're going to go effect to dump your 𝐒𝐤𝐽. And now if I... yes. A little slight change here, by the way, and this was just kind of me forgetting about this. You want to dump the 𝐒𝐮𝐩𝐩𝐽 to grave instead of the 𝐒𝐤𝐽, because by now you've dumped 2 or more monsters from hand or deck to grave. So you go 𝐒𝐮𝐩𝐽 effect, special it, and then you remove these 2, because the Dinglong is now a level 10 due to you dumping the 𝐒𝐤𝐽, and the 𝐒𝐮𝐻𝐽 is also level 10, so you can go into 𝐒𝐮𝐩𝐽. You can go set the 𝐒𝐮𝐽 effect, summon the Crystal Wing from your extra deck. And then here you go Warzone the special 𝐒𝐤𝐽, 𝐒𝐮𝐩𝐽, and I usually special the 𝐒𝐻𝐽. Oh, also, actually, hold up. There was, in fact, one thing I forgot to do, which was summon the 𝐮𝐤 off of the Dinglong. So yeah, you should definitely do that. And then, before you make the Crystal Wing, I'm just gonna back it up a bit, right? So, this is there, this is in here. Yeah, you summon the 𝐮𝐤 off of the Dinglong, so that you have this for the 9 pillars. And then you can go Warzone, put back, or not Warzone. You could go set the 9 pillars to do the 𝐒𝐿KIN, to summon to the 𝐒𝐮𝐠, so that you still have space down here. Or you could put the 𝐒𝐿KIN in the 𝐒𝐮𝐠, and on your opponent's turn, you can use your Varudras to pop or remove a body or something that's in the 𝐒𝐮𝐠 to make room for the Mistfa. But if you don't do that, you can just do the Warzone here, summon 1, 2, and 3, and then you go these 2 into your Varudras, and then here you go set the 9 pillars, and then you go 𝐒𝐿KIN effect, summon the Crystal Wing, and then you pass turn on this. And of course, if you open anything else, any other extenders, the board just gets better and better. For example, if you open 𝐒𝐤𝐽 with the 1 card, that gets you to Rivalry as well, which makes this board even better. If you open 𝐼𝐵, that gives you another thing to destroy, which makes this board even better. So it just gets better with the more... with each piece of RYU-GE that you open with it. With the initial 1 card starter, the board just gets better and better. So on your opponent's turn, you have non-negate, monster negate, and of course, multiple ways to trigger the Mistfa in extra deck. And that was only 1 card. So then you should have 4 more in hand. And you can just see, like, this is ridiculous, right? And especially if you have the 𝐼𝐵 in scale to protect this, so that you at least can get the RYU-GE portion off. If they interact with the Dinglong, that's perfectly fine. You're still ending on all of your RYU-GE interaction anyway. On your opponent's turn, you can use the 9 pillars to destroy the 𝐒𝐤 and negate something, and then that actually triggers the Mistfa. So you tribute the 𝐒𝐤, summon the Mistfa, and then you can destroy 2. So like if you got something on back row or whatever, you can destroy the Warzone, destroy it, place 2. I can't remember if 𝐒𝐤𝐚𝐥 can be destroyed by your own effects. Let's see. Oh, interesting. Just cannot be targeted by attacks or card effects. So yeah, you could just destroy the 𝐒𝐤𝐚 and then place 2. That never came up at locals because I did this combo twice, and both times my opponents were just like, yeah man, you got it. I'm not even gonna try to play through it. So you can just go 1, 2... And as you can see, it's just so much. There's so much. It's so cool. I love the deck a lot. And I do think that 60 cards is the way to go. If you want to have fun with the deck and not try to use it as like a meta call or something like that, you could play stuff like To Play RYU-GE or Zephyr RYU-GE or Yangzing RYU-GE, Dino RYU-GE. I do think that Lost World RYU-GE is probably the second best variant of the deck. You could also do something like Dinomorphia RYU-GE. But I genuinely think that the 60 card variant is just the best variant, because it allows you to play, number 1, the most non-engine, and number 2, the best ways to access your engine, such as Subspace Battle, such as Melody of Awakening Dragon, and it's just wonderful. Now, if you want to know what happens if you open the Warzone, because Warzone requires a very specific extra deck compilation to make it a 1-card combo, I will show that off right now. So let's say you only open the Warzone, let's say like all these other cards are like, I don't know, just fluff, I guess. Let's just say your other cards are fluff, right? You go activate Warzone, grab 𝐒𝐤𝐚, grab Carbonetin, grab 𝐒𝐮𝐩𝐩, banish 𝐒𝐮𝐩𝐻, discard Carbonetin, add 𝐒𝐤𝐚 to hand, 𝐒𝐤𝐚 effect, banish, to add your Wyrmlens, activate Wyrmlens, activate Carbonetin, summon the Justicia from deck, 𝐒𝐤𝐚 effect activates to summon itself, and then this is where the combo takes a turn. Oh, also before this, you go 𝐒𝐤𝐚 to grab the trap. Do not forget that. I am guilty of forgetting about that occasionally, because you kind of get tunnel visioned into doing the combo. You just, you know. So you use these two, and this is where the combo deviates. You go into the Synchro Universe monster, and then you tribute it. It goes to your face-up extra deck, and you summon the Odd Eyes Archray Dragon. Now the difference here is the Archray, it will place your Mistfa from deck in your scale. This is important because you need the Mistfa in your extra deck to use the RYU-GE Warzone. So you go Mistfa pop, search for, you could search 𝐒𝐚, you could search Rising, really does not matter. I would probably search Rising just because it is a good card to pair with 𝐒𝐚 in the graveyard. So you can go Rising, grab the 𝐒𝐚, and then now that the Mistfa is in extra deck, you can go Warzone to summon back the 𝐒𝐮𝐩𝐻, the 𝐒𝐚, as well as your 𝐒𝐤𝐚. Although, with this immediate board, to be honest, I think what you do here is you summon the 𝐒𝐚, because you're gonna go 𝐒𝐚 to destroy the Archray. It will go into your Pendulum Scale because it was destroyed. This will trigger the Mistfa to tribute your 𝐒𝐮𝐩𝐻. summoning it from to the extra monster zone, and then on resolution you destroy 2, so you can destroy the Anva and the Arc Ray. Placing 2, so you can place the Wyrmwinds, or you could also just keep the Anva there and then destroy the Warzone, because if you don't have a way to summon the Enva back from grave, you're gonna just use these 2 bodies to go into 𝐒𝐻𝐻𝐿. So it might just be better to keep the Anva on the field. You could place Wyrmwinds, you could place Spires, you could place Dino Domains. I almost always go for Spires and Dino Domains. The Wyrmwinds is mostly good in the Cool Tune matchup because their Synchro Material can't activate their effects when they're used as Synchro Material because they are being banished instead of being sent to the graveyard. So they don't get Effective Rotary, they don't get Reco, they don't get Mix, they don't get Q, they don't get anything. You place these 2, then you go overlay these 2 into your 𝐒𝐻𝐻𝐿, and then this would be your inboard, the Rivalry, the Spired Domains, and then this is your hand. Now obviously, if you have the Anva in your opening hand, you want to scale it and then pop it with the Mistfa so that you can get the RYU-GE end on the field to give you the additional interaction. Don't forget about that. But this is also extremely funny because here we can go Domains, Spires with the Mistfa to negate bounce, and then you can go 𝐒𝐻𝐻𝐿 to detach, negate, and then destroy your Mistfa. Rivalry to summon an Anva from your deck, destroy a monster, and then you can go Mistfa effect to tribute it, summon, and then pop for 𝐒𝐻𝐻𝐿. Goes to face up extra deck. You place C-Spire and then just do it again. Or you could place like your Wyrmwinds to floodgate them out, or like whatever you really need to do. And it just gets better if you have more stuff to pop. Because you can pop up to 2, so. Something you will realize very quickly with this deck is that a lot of your effects are going to be bait until you're ready to commit to your important effects, which are going to be your Warzone, because the deck revolves around the field spell. So like a lot of this is just going to be fluff to try to get your opponent to interact with you. And the cool thing about a lot of the RYU-GE cards is the more your opponent interacts with you, the more stuff you can do. So for example, you go Enva effect search, and then they hand trap you. You go, oh cool, you just turned on my Enva. I'm going to special the Enva. But if the Enva resolves, and then you go like grab the C-Spires, and let's say you go like normal summon the Manju and they ash it, or they Veilurge, or they do something to it, you go, oh hey, that's really cool. I appreciate that. I'm going to summon the Enva, activate the Spires, and now I have an interaction to help break your board. And then same thing with the Hakuba. If they bestial or they interact with banished at all, like with Malice or like other random decks that are occasionally banishing things at the moment, you can use the Hakuba and summon it to do essentially the same thing. And then with the Aiba, if 2 cards were destroyed, or if 2 or more cards were destroyed during this turn, you can special it from hand. And the Anva is kind of just here because you can go like, oh, I'm going to tribute a RYU-GE from hand, special it, and then go back to attempt to crack whatever board you've made. And if they destroy it, it goes to extra deck, and you can go effect, I'm going to grab RYU-GE in to give you something that's going to force more interaction. So there are just so many ways that can interact with your opponent going second. On top of the fact that you're running a ton of non-engine in your 60-card list that is either board breakers or hand traps. So like here, I mean, obviously this hand is not very good because you don't have access to a starter. What's our top deck? Never mind, you have access to a starter. Okay. Now, it is kind of unfortunate opening the Wyrmwinds with the 𝐒𝐤𝐽. That is, like, genuinely the worst part about this right now. But it's okay. I'm just gonna assume that we use the Ash on our opponent. Because here you can go Anva, Tribute, Summon, Effect, Destroy, force an interaction with them. If they remove it, you get End. If they don't remove it, it's perfectly fine. You could go probably discard this. You go into like Mud Dragon or the Garura. Genuinely, probably the best thing to go into would have been the Garura, because the moment you go into the Garura, you can just link those two off, or your Armalai, or draw a card, and then go Melody. But yeah, that was not like the best hand to showcase just how much you can play through, because I mean, obviously you only open the one starter, and it's kind of the worst starter going second. Melody going second feels really bad because obviously removing a card from your hand when you're already trying to trade card for card with your opponent it just feels bad. This is much better. Super Probably the Carboneddin is such a funny interaction, because you're like, hey, I need this out of my hand. I'm gonna take your board, put this engraved, and that gives me a way to also interact with you, by the way. And sometimes you could run things like a level 8 Synchro to go into off of the Justicia and the Garura, or a level 6 Synchro, like the Coral Dragon to go into off of Mud Dragon and the Justicia, or even the Manju and the Justicia. I used to do that, but I wanted to test out the Glathiosaurus to see how I would like it, and I just never used it. I genuinely would have used a Coral Dragon more than the Glathiosaurus. But yeah, you can go like Super Poly, Carboneddin, take something, go into like, worst case scenario would probably be Mud Dragon. Of course, if you have the Alpha Cool Tune, you would play it, the Sea Monster Theseus. And then you can go 𝐒𝐤𝐽, Banish, do your thing, grab the Wyrmwinds. Wherever it is in my deck. You can go Carboneddin, Banish, summon the Justicia. And then if they have another monster banish, you can go 𝐒𝐤𝐽 effect to special itself. Go these two into Vengeance Dragon, and this is you're pretty much just trying to force all of their interaction. And then also, you know, could do Wyrmwinds here. Against Cool Tune, they're kind of forced to interact with us because they can't get their grave effects to interact with you further. Once this resolves. But also you could just use the 𝐒𝐤𝐽 to put this back and then grab the Anva to secure your RYU-GE spell activations before you go into the Guy's Vengeance. Obviously, there's gonna be a lot of nuance here. Your opponent's gonna interact with you in weird places, either because they don't know the deck very well, or they know the deck perfectly and they're trying to cut off certain lines. So a lot of it is going to be nuanced, and you're going to run into issues where you're like, I can do like half combo, or maybe I can't do any combo because my opponent just knows how the deck works, and they waited for an open game state to interact with Mistfa or the field spell or something. So you're gonna have issues like that, but for the most part, even when I played against my teammates at the box tournament, who knew how RYU-GE operated, even when they interacted correctly, I still came out on top. In almost every single instance. Like, even when I was like, activate Mistfa, and then they waited and they went, hey, I'm going to Ghost Ogre that, or I'm going to like Ash that to keep it in scale, or I'm going to just remove it in an open game state so that you don't get the effect. or before you activate the effect. Even in those instances, I was just like, okay, I have the extender. Like, I just open the Warzone, or I just go Rising, or I just had Anva, and then, or I had like a Restrict, or I just had like Board Breakers or something to deal with it, or maybe I had a Thrust to set the rivalry so I could just do my stuff on their turn. There's a lot of nuance with the deck, which I think is why the deck is so interesting, and why I think it is a particularly good pick right now, because you can design your board to deal with specific matchups. Obviously against 𝐒𝐤𝐚, you want Wormwinds to prevent them from even doing any sort of combo. But even against decks like any of the Power Patron stuff, the Doomsday stuff, you can design a lot of your boards to kind of deal with the game plan that your opponent is working with, and you can design your deck list, your extra deck list, to deal with the meta at the moment. So like, instead of running the Justicia, you could run the Flamvell Guard, and if we're in like a die roll format, you could try to pivot to wanting to win die roll more, running the Ding Long package in main. You could pivot to running the Dino stuff, or you could try to run Pinpai because you're trying to go second and win. If a lot of decks in the format are just not very good at dealing with board breakers, things like that. So I think the deck is very cool, and I think it has a lot of potential. A lot of the combos are pretty self-explanatory, and a lot of your interactions are going to be nuanced, so there's going to be stuff that you're going to learn testing the deck yourself that I will have not mentioned in this video, okay? Like, for example, using Rising to banish itself and then banish a Hakva from grave when there's like 2 monsters banished total. Because when you go Rising to banish itself from grave and banish Hakva from grave, you summon a Hakva from your deck. And then what that does is, like, let's say you have Carboneddin banished now with the Hakva, and your opponent has a monster banished, you go Hakva effect summon itself. So now you just have 2 Hakva. And if you're going into turn 3 and you still have a Wormwinds, this is full combo. Like, even without the second Hakva, this is full combo. You just go Hakva, put this back. Oh, cool, I'm gonna grab Warzone. I'm gonna just activate Warzone and go full combo now. And then going into, like, if you have Rising and you have like an Imba in there or something, or hell, even like an Anva Engrave, you go Rising, banish Anva, summon Anva, Anva effect pop, and then you can go Misfa and extra deck. Hey, I'm gonna tribute this, and then just like summon and then pop 2 cards that I might not need, or just dead. Like, let's say you've got like a Super Poly in hand, and you're like, oh, I can just set that and then pop it with a Misfa to get more interaction. The deck has a lot of nuance and a lot of cool things that you can do, which is why I think that it's a slept-on pick right now. Here's well in the 𝐒𝐤𝐚. You can establish some pretty crazy boards, especially post-side. A lot of interactions just don't work against you. Valor and Perm essentially do nothing against you. Cards like Ghost Bell and Ash are probably the best. Also, Impulse is really good. But you can still play through those cards, and a lot of the time your opponent's gonna do stuff that's just not gonna be super optimal. Mostly because they're not familiar with the deck, and also, you could just open Broken. You could just open exactly what you need to deal with the hand traps a lot of the time, or you're just gonna open board breakers or hand traps that you're just gonna be like, I'm gonna set like a Droplet and a Super Poly and then pass turn, and your opponent's just not gonna be able to play through them. So, yeah. That was the combo video. I hope that it sufficed, and I hope to catch you guys next time. If you saw something that you want to add in the comments, like say maybe I didn't do something that I could have done in a combo that would have made more sense, or if I mess up something, feel free to let people know down in the comments. I always pin comments if I mess something up, or if someone gives combo advice or deck building advice that is important to know. I always pin those comments. So yeah, if you haven't already subscribed, like the video, it helps me out, it helps you out, because you get to see cool shit like this. I like to make a lot of deck profiles on a lot of different decks that are typically rogue tier, or like might be topping like here and there, decks that are a little above rogue tier, sometimes even below rogue tier. And the next video that I'm going to be making is probably going to be about assault mode, because I'm cooking up a very delicious deck list that I think you guys are going to really like. Because assault mode paired with another deck makes a incredibly stupid inboard, and you guys are going to find out. So, take care of yourselves, and I'll catch you guys later, alright? See ya.